There was once a king who never ruled the land he destroyed. He never walked its forests, never heard the screams echoing through its villages, never saw the hands that were cut from children, but he counted the profits. In the late 19th century, Europe was obsessed with empire. Flags were planted across Africa like trophies. Kings and politicians called it civilization. They said they were bringing light to the dark continent. One man saw something else: opportunity. King Leopold II of Belgium was not satisfied with ruling a small European nation. Belgium was tiny, weak in comparison to Britain or France. Leopold wanted power. He wanted legacy. He wanted wealth. But Belgium's parliament refused to fund colonial adventures, so Leopold did something almost unbelievable. He claimed an entire African territory, not for Belgium, for himself. Through deception, private deals, and diplomatic manipulation, Leopold gained international recognition over a vast region in Central Africa known as the Congo Free State. It sounded humanitarian. He promised to end slavery, to bring Christianity, to build schools and hospitals. European leaders applauded him, but the Congo Free State was not a charity. It was a private business, and the product was rubber. At the time, the world was entering the industrial age. Rubber was gold. It was needed for tires, machinery, cables. Demand exploded across Europe and America. Leopold created a forced labor system. Villages were given impossible quotas. If they failed, punishment followed. Soldiers were ordered to prove they had not wasted bullets. For every bullet used, they had to present a severed human hand. Hands became currency. Entire villages were burned. Men executed, women taken hostage, children mutilated. Estimates suggest that between 10 to 15 million people may have died during Leopold's rule in the Congo. Some historians argue the number could be even higher. Population collapse, famine, disease, mass execution. And yet, in Europe, Leopold was praised as a visionary. He built grand monuments in Belgium using Congo's wealth, beautiful parks, lavish architecture, public buildings that still stand today. Few asked where the money came from, but the truth began to leak. Missionaries reported atrocities. Photographs surfaced, images of men staring at the camera, their hands missing. British journalists started investigating. Activists formed one of the first international human rights campaigns in history. The world slowly realized that behind the language of civilization was industrialized terror. Under pressure, Leopold was eventually forced to hand control of the Congo to the Belgian government in 1908. But no international trial followed, no prison sentence, no execution. Leopold died a wealthy man. His funeral procession in Belgium was met with silence, and some accounts say quiet boos from the crowd. But the system he built had already done its damage. Entire generations erased, cultural structures shattered, and economic foundations destroyed. And here's the darkest part. This was not hidden in ancient times. It happened in the age of photography, in the age of newspapers, in the age of diplomacy. The world knew, and it allowed it. Today, statues of Leopold II have been vandalized. Some removed, some defended. Debates continue in Europe about responsibility, apology, and reparations. But the forests of the Congo remember. History books often summarize this chapter in a few pages, but for millions, it was not a chapter. It was the end of their story. And perhaps the most disturbing truth is this: Leopold never saw himself as a villain. He saw himself as a businessman, a modernizer, a king expanding civilization. Evil rarely announces itself. It hides behind profit, behind progress, behind polite speeches in European halls. The Congo Free State was not just a colony. It was one man's private empire, built on silence, funded by suffering, and protected by distance. Because it is always easier to ignore pain when it is far away. The question is not only how this happened, the question is how long it was tolerated. And whether the modern world has truly changed, or if power still operates the same way, just with better public relations. History does not disappear. It waits.